All right, tonight it appears another so-called Russian bombshell has fallen completely flat. The Guardian today reported without any evidence, vague sourcing, that former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort and WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange met multiple times between 2013 and 2016 at the Ecuadorian embassy in London. Well, tonight, Paul Manafort is strongly denying all of that, firing back in a powerful statement. It reads, quote, "This story is totally false, deliberately libelous. I have never met Julian Assange or anyone connected to him. I have never been contacted by anyone connected to WikiLeaks, either directly or indirectly. I have never reached out to Assange or WikiLeaks on any matter." Now, Manafort is also vowing to pursue all legal options against that paper. And WikiLeaks, by the way, they are even going further tonight. They tweeted, quote, "Willing to bet The Guardian $1 million and its editor's head that Manafort never met Assange. Assange, too, rightly so, moving ahead on possible legal action." In addition to being absolutely rebuffed by both parties involved, what's fascinating is The Guardian's story filled with serious flaws. And, by the way, no evidence of any meetings, vaguely described sources, and none on the record. Remember, the Ecuadorian embassy in London, it is one of the most surveilled and secured buildings in the world. I know. I went there. I interviewed Julian Assange in January of 2017. Visitors are monitored. They are photographed, videotaped by multiple governments. And now The Guardian is even being accused of quietly stealth editing the story. Now, the paper actually altered their own headline, adding words, "sources say." They didn't have that in the beginning, and then they softened key elements in the language just hours after receiving all the backlash. And while the fake news media jumps on anything, everything Russia, except Hillary's phony dossier, regardless of any actual evidence, President Trump's not backing down. And today he had sharp words for Robert Mueller. He tweeted, quote, "The phony witch hunt continues, but Mueller and his gang of angry Democrats are only looking at one side, not the other. Wait until it comes out how horribly and viciously they are treating people, ruining lives for them refusing to lie. Mueller is a conflicted prosecutor gone rogue." And then Trump continued, quote, "And the fake news media builds Bob Mueller up as a saint when in actuality he is the exact opposite. He's doing tremendous damage to our criminal justice system where he is only looking at one side, not the other. Heroes will come of this, and it won't be Mueller and his terrible gang of angry Democrats. Look at their past. Look where they come from. And look at this, $30 million. The witch hunt continues. They've got nothing but ruined lives. Where is the server?" Meaning Hillary's server. "Let these terrible people go back to the Clinton Foundation and the Justice Department." Still, President Trump is letting the process play out. He told the Washington Post tonight he has no intention of stopping the investigation. But the president's concerns are being echoed by legal scholars like Alan Dershowitz, who warned today that about what Mueller's true motives really are. Let's take a look.
Mueller is not going to produce a neutral report. He's not going to be fair. He's going to produce what he believes is going to be a devastating attack. He's going to put together everything. He's going to use information from Manafort and others without necessarily disclosing that they're liars. And so the president's team has to be ready.
This is exactly what I have been saying on this program from the get-go. Our own Greg Jarrett has explained what we're witnessing now is the classic Mueller, Andrew Weissmann pitbull tactics using threats, coercion, to get people to what we call test a lie. In other words, tell us what we want to hear, and guess what? We're going to go easy on you. And by the way, if you don't tell us what we want to hear, well, you might spend the rest of your life in jail. But look what's happening. This is fascinating. Paul Manafort and Jerome Corsi, they're now taking a stand. They're refusing to cooperate and go along with the test a lie scheme. They're not willing to tell a story that they want told. Even both of them, elderly men, risking life in prison. Now, they could say exactly what these rogue prosecutors want to save themselves, but clearly their conscience refuses to allow them to lie. CNN reporting that Robert Mueller has his hands on 2016 email communications between Corsi and Roger Stone, supposedly showing some attempt from Stone to seek information from WikiLeaks. We'll see how this plays out as Mueller continues to turn the screws on both Corsi and Stone. One thing, as I have read it, it doesn't show that they knew anything was stolen in any way by anybody. Anyone ever hear of the Pentagon Papers? Just a thought. Remember, it is now day 559 of Mueller's Destroy Trump witch hunt. Zero evidence, zero, of Trump-Russia collusion. We got, lying to the FBI, lying to prosecutors, lying on loan applications, didn't pay your taxes. Where's the collusion? Why not go after Hillary? What we're seeing here is a two-tier justice system. Hillary Clinton paid for phony Russian lies that were fed to you, the American people, to influence the 2016 election, and no legal consequences. President Trump, everyone associated with him, they turned the screws ever so tight. Mueller and his merry band of partisan investigators with a horrific track record. It's a travesty of justice. It is the biggest abuse of power corruption scandal we've had. Never mind Hillary Clinton from the get-go got exonerated. No real investigation. They were writing her exoneration in May. They didn't interview her and 17 other people till July. She committed obvious and clear felonies, including obstruction, when she deleted and she acid washed and then busted up devices. But America's left and their friends in the mainstream media, they can't get enough. But they never talk about the dual justice system, the Hillary system, and then the system for the rest of us. Completely obsessed with a phony Trump-Russia collusion conspiracy theory. And meanwhile, the Destroy Trump press is all but ignoring the major scandal surrounding what might be the world's sketchiest so-called charity, the Clinton Foundation, back in the news. Federal investigation is now currently underway into Bill and Hillary's prized so-called nonprofit organization. FBI agents are seeking to determine whether or not the Clintons employed an illicit pay-to-play scheme for years. Remember, during Hillary's tenure as then Senator, then Secretary of State, and during her 2 runs for the presidency, that foundation raked in tens and tens of millions of dollars, many of the largest donations coming from foreign governments. We're talking about millions of dollars from Australia, Norway, the Netherlands, Ireland. And remember, Hillary Clinton's, claim to be the champion of women during the 2016 campaign. Her foundation took in tens and tens of millions of dollars from countries with the most despicable, disgusting, horrific human rights track records. Middle Eastern countries practicing Sharia, treating women like second, third-class citizens, and worse. And the Clinton Foundation taking between $10 and $25 million from Saudi Arabia, forbids women from traveling without a male guardian's permission, persecutes Christians and Jews, and literally gives the death penalty to gays and lesbians. What did they do? They took millions from these countries, and they bought the Clintons' silence. And they took more from Kuwait and Qatar and Brunei and Oman and UAE, Algeria. They bought her silence. She never criticized those atrocious human rights records like we have regularly on this show. And in 2016 alone, the foundation took in a whopping, get this, so the year she's running, $62 million. In 2017, after Clinton's devastating loss to Donald Trump, her foundation only received $26 million in donations. Well, that's a huge, massive drop, and that's because after it became clear that Hillary Clinton would never be president. So what were all those big donors hoping to gain from their enormous deposits into the Clinton Foundation? Looks to me like that's called access, pay to play, paid access at the highest levels of our federal government. Imagine for a second Donald Trump ever did this. You're buying access that no other law-abiding citizen would ever dream of. Do you think they'd get invitations to the White House? You think they'd get access to the president if she had won? Access to the Senate seat when she had that? The State Department when she was Secretary of State? And if everything went according to plan, access to the Oval Office. Of course, everything didn't go according to plan, and Hillary Clinton lost because we, the people, Donald Trump became president in spite of all of the deep state's efforts to prevent that from happening. Now they're delegitimizing, and frankly, we will see in the next 2 years nothing but an all-out effort assault to destroy the presidency of Donald Trump. And now we have the opportunity to uncover what looks like a completely corrupt, pay-to-play scheme that should have no place in this constitutional republic of ours. And the mainstream media, they choose to ignore this developing scandal? Of course, they're all things Democrat. They're an extension of the Democratic Party. They're too busy covering Stormy, and hole, etc. They don't want to cover the crisis at the southern border, at least not in a fair way, an honest way. Now that thousands of migrants have arrived south of San Diego, the biased press can no longer ignore this serious situation or pretend that it's some grand conspiracy theory cooked up by the GOP to get votes in the midterms. Instead, the media's echo chamber is now spinning out of control over the use of non-lethal tear gas. Why? To disperse a massive group of migrants that attempted to break all of our laws, rush the border, and many assaulting our own Border Patrol with rocks and bottles and other projectiles. And we have it on tape. Take a look.
Bad things breaking out at the San Ysidro port of entry near Tijuana. The president falsely described the caravan as an invasion. Now he seems intent on trying to make it as ugly as he imagined it.
Is there any defense for using tear gas on children?
Well, I think what Americans really should be, especially Trump supporters, people who, don't quite see the inhumanity that's going on here, who maybe think that 3-year-olds need tear gas.
There has got to be a pragmatic and compassionate answer here that does not involve tear gassing children.
Here we look at children being subjected to tear gas. That's the United States causing that. That's outrageous.
He wants that chaos on the border as he continues to treat these people, who so many of whom are leaving violent lives in Central America, like terrorists. There's some bad people. Yeah, like the bad 4-year-old that got tear gassed the other day.
And as you can see, your mainstream media doing anything, everything to vilify President Trump and his administration over the crisis at our southern border. However, as per usual, they have completely failed to tell the whole truth. Look at this study tonight from Newsbusters. Last night, networks totally ignored the use of tear gas during the Obama administration. Do you remember this kind of hysteria? A report from the Washington Times shows that, tear gas was used about once a month during Barack Obama's time in office in order to repel migrants at the border. Once a month. Think about that. Now, isn't that all you need to really know about the bias of the media in this country? There was no monthly outrage over the actions of the Obama administration, no grandstanding, no dramatic pleas for civility, no talk about women and children. This shows without any shadow of a doubt the destroy Trump press, and that's who they are willing to do and say anything, everything to damage the administration. This has been 2 years and ongoing. Many on the left try to paint the Trump administration as monsters. The statistics, the truth, history tells a much different story. In fact, 100,000 asylum claims were processed last year under the Trump administration. By the way, that happens to be a record-setting amount. That's up 6,000 from Obama's final year in office. And under the Trump immigration applications into the United States, they have surged, probably because of the better economy. Unfortunately, this causes serious backlogs, and we now are currently at 786,000 pending immigration cases. Now, keep in mind, the U.S. has received 160,000 asylum cases this year compared to just 42,000 in 2008. Good economy again. As of September, there were 42,000 likely illegal immigrants held in ICE detention facilities, despite only enough funding and capacity for 40,000 people. Now, the president has requested more funding for ICE. But as we know and as we can see, America's immigration resources are stretched extremely thin. They are operating at maximum capacity. And this makes the situation at our southern border even more serious and more dangerous for those people that put their lives on the line to protect our country, our sovereignty, our borders, our rule of law. None of this seems to matter to the left. The president's working hard to improve the lives of the American people and our immigration system, strengthen our borders, ask people to respect our laws, and the left is working overtime to destroy the reputation of the Trump administration. No conspiracy theory is too absurd for them. No lie too egregious. No rhetoric too disgusting. And when Democrats take control of the House in a few short weeks, I digress here a second, when they do, we have great things planned. It's only going to get worse. Mark my words. 2 years, never-ending, nonstop attacks, nonstop investigation. What are they going to do for you, we, the people, to improve the economy, to improve our security, to bring us to energy independence? Probably nothing.